Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I am well. I mean, exams are
Happy Monday.
exams going on and all of that. So it's a lot going on, but I'm happy to be here. So
Wow,
yeah,
happy to have you. Welcome to our Mentorship Monday. I know you've been a guest with us before,
yes.
and the conversation was a little bit different before. So we spoke about your professional life, and you can go ahead and share with us what are some of the things that you do professionally.
Okay, so you just gotta jump right in. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So I am a trained or certified hospitality trainer. I call that's my 9 to 5. But I'm also an adjunct lecturer with Montego Bay Community College as well as Northern Caribbean University. I lecture in anything HR and hospitality with those two tertiary institutions. Outside of that, I just do dabbling little things, consultancy here and there. I work with small businesses to get their HR solutions up and running, as well as recruitment, as well as your training solutions as well. So busy guy
That.
from a professional standpoint. And then of course, and you know that I'm in school as well, so
Right.
I'm doing all of that. And but I'm just loving life, and just trying to better myself, um, in order to make sure that whoever I'm imparting anything to, it will be of great value to them, regardless if it's in my 9 to 5 profession or outside of my 9 to 5 profession.
First of all, where do you find the time, sir?
Um, time management.
Oh, that's not
Time management is extremely important. Um, because you have to be on top of everything that you're doing.
right.
You do not want to come off as being, unprofessional, especially when you have tight deadlines to meet. So, for example, for this week alone, I have final exams to set and upload, for my students. But then I'm doing final exams as well for school. And then at
Right.
work during the daytime, I have my daily duties to do as well. And then, of course, I have my outside of that, the persons that I work with their HR solutions. So I have to schedule my time properly to ensure that I am giving my best and not stretching myself too thin, because then it will compromise the work at the end of the day if you're not careful.
Right, and the quality. I love that.
Absolutely.
And I love that you find time for everything. Actually, I know you do a lot, and this is what we're gonna talk about too, because I know persons have their life and their work, and they have to sustain themselves. So we want to know how you incorporate your passion projects then into all of this that you've been maintaining.
Well, it is what fuels me. So while my profession feeds me, uh,
Right,
monetarily, my passion project feeds my soul. And if that is not happening, then I'm really, I'm not, I'm not me. I'm not plugged in. I always say that when I'm doing some form of volunteer work, I feel as if somebody take an extension from my back and plug it into some power source, because I guess it is born out of wanting to see people develop regardless of what it is. So rather, whether it is for me to call a meeting with my peers to say, hey, let's do an empowerment session. I'll be hosting that tonight. Free of course, just jump onto a Zoom, I send it out to them, and we do something like that. Or is, for example, the other day I was sharing with you where my sisters and I decided that we are going to help some children in my community who did not have access to the platforms that they use for school these days. So we raised monies and we purchased 10 tablets for those students. And then the week after, we did like a community project now where we feed well, not feed, it's more like a care package for
Right.
persons who are, vulnerable at this time. They may not be working, or they're elderly, so they cannot move around too much. So stuff like those is what fuel the soul part of me. But how my profession helps that is when you do studying, and this is something that I will put out there right now. While there's this long debate going on, oh, school is not for everyone, I can
Mm.
understand that. But there is something about higher learning that opens your mind to other things. So it may not be a university campus that you're sitting in, but learn something. And by learning something extra, you never know what doors will open for you, one or two. You don't know how that would help your um your hobby, first, so to
Right.
speak. So I have had situations where persons were always talking. They're just always chatting. And they stumble upon a free course that speaks to public speaking. And now they are more, more out there, more in front of the camera. And then with the advent of COVID, it has opened up the doors for
There's
so
so many
many
opportunities.
talk
Right.
show hosts and all of these things, including myself. But I'm just saying, you never know what all of these learnings will take you, what will happen when you talk about, when you deal with your passion and your profession, how they can marry together to really sustain you, not only financially, but as I said, that part of you that longs for that feel good moment.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that you need that part of you to push you, like just to give you that extra boost and that extra energy, because sometimes you're getting up for your 9 to 5 and the routine just starts to drain you. So I definitely see why you would need that. What I'm curious about is how do you ooh, how do you maneuver around the pandemic to just continue to give and continue to just find those persons who are, I don't want to say less fortunate, but are not in the position of having right now. How do you
The,
maneuver all of that?
the thing about it is, this pandemic has opened up my eyes to so many things. Number one, there are certain things that I used to take for granted that I refuse leaving or coming out of this that I will ever do again. Um, it really spoke to me in terms of looking at the fact that you have a space now where it is no longer about equality, but more equity. Equality speaks to everybody having the same opportunities. But
Right,
when it comes to equity, is yes, while the opportunities are there, all of us don't have the same resources to access these resources. You understand what I mean?
right,
Or these opportunities. So I look at it from that perspective and said, okay, and I'm now talking specifically about the tablet drive first. When we did our tablet drive, that was Minds of Jamaica, when we did ours, and in doing ours, I realized that this thing is taking on, and when I say this thing, COVID, and the fact that persons will now have to study via internet, via these devices,
right,
and don't have it. And the fact that in every parish in this country, there are vulnerable persons who just can't afford it. There is no way they can afford it.
right,
And I'm saying, okay, each, maybe different people, different organization, they are trying to do their own little thing to make sure that they touch one aspect of the country. So if I can extend my reach to touch even one set as well, then that would take the pressure off, the parents who now have to decide, do I buy a tablet for that child, or do I buy food for us to eat? So that's where the conversation is at the moment. Um, do I put on internet, or do I buy food? You understand what I mean? So I had to become a part of that. So it was easy for someone like me, again, who mirrored and partnered with Minds of Jamaica to do that set, and then now my family and all my sisters to do our set. So it was very easy for me to jump in on that angle, because once you are, and you say an educator, once an educator, always an educator.
Nice.
I know, and it is so funny. This is a conversation that I had with Kamir's mom the other day when I did the handover on behalf of my
Nice. To the tablet.
right. And it is so funny that it was immediate that we just started to talk, because we look beyond what is happening and see how we can jump and help. Because that's the educator in us. Want to make sure that the access to education is important. Because at the end of the day, I know what it did for me. I know what education did for me. It put me here. And I know that it will allow and open doors for other persons as well.
I love that. All right. So, yes, educators, it doesn't turn off, just like parenting. You're always modeling and developing someone, and I love that. You touched on a point where your professional skills are the ones that they're constantly being drawn for because of who you are as a person too. So I love how you've incorporated how that just comes into your conversation. But I want to link that to what you said earlier, that some persons believe that higher education is not it for them. And I want to touch on not just the education aspect of it, but it serves as a platform for you to meet persons and network. Do you think your profession also gives you that access to persons who you can see that are vulnerable, that you can create access or lend a hand
Absolutely.
if need be?
Absolutely. Because I'm in charge of the foundation at work. Um, in terms for the education arm of the foundation. I chose the education arm of the foundation because, again, the educator in me. So, and when I say at work, we choose different schools that we partner with as a hotel to ensure that we have to maintain and ensure that the community within which we operate understand that we are here, and we're not only here to draw on business or to draw on using or utilizing the skills that are coming in from those areas, but also to ensure that we are ensuring that our footprint is right there as well in these communities. So one area that I work in is I'm the chair for the committee that deals with the education arm. So, for example, the SOS Children Village, the Granville Girls Home, the Baritone Holiday School, those type of things. I see how my training impacts me when I get in front of them. So it's as if I am using everything that I've learned to still find a way to connect with these men and women of tomorrow, and understand that because, and I hope that parents who are listening, please listen. You have to understand that when you send your children to school, as much as you do the very best that you can with them at home, understand that they are going to come in contact with persons around that that is not of the same values as you would have instilled in your child. And I can speak from experience of this one episode that almost derailed my life. And every time I think back on it, I'm like, what was I thinking? But then I had to think that, oh, but remember, you were a child at the time. And at that time, and during that stage, you are so vulnerable to everything else around you. The peer pressure is there and it is real.
Easy influence, right?
Exactly, the influence. And if I, as an educator, can step in front of a child based on one, my training, two, my past experiences as well, and what I've been through, etc., to kind of tell them something, you know, the bad, not bother with that, because it's not going to help you in the long run. Just stay on this path, you see, because your mother and father, who is working so hard to ensure that you have this opportunity, don't waste it. You understand what I mean? I have come in contact with persons in the community that I work with, who connect with me for me to connect them to learning, to schools, and when I talk about schools, I'm talking about basic, and I'm talking about adults here. Basic meaning learning to read, CAT, cat, BAT, but that type of thing. So I guess the patience and the training in training helped me in the community service part of things, because I can look at it now from a place of empathy, because I want them to want better for themselves. You understand what I mean?
Wow. So you called on some key basic skills: patience, communication, developing, and those are some of the things that we need every day, especially if we're going to be serving others. And life is a continuous service to others.
Oh yeah.
So how to phrase this now? I don't want to say it wrong. So when you're dealing with persons who probably don't understand or don't see the value in what they're doing, or so for example, I'm a patient person and I want to help others, but they don't see the value of what I'm offering. How do you get around that obstacle of still being able to do right?
I was taught this. And this is something that is very, it is stuck with me. You see, the person who plants a tree may never ever go back to that tree to sit under that tree. So you may never experience the shade of that tree. And I've also learned that the lives that I touch, I may never ever meet some of the people that I've impacted ever. But I have to live with the understanding that if one person decide not to adhere or to take my advice, I cannot allow that one person to stop me from meeting or reaching out to somebody who may just be looking for that advice. So I have to keep that in the back of my head. It's not everybody, not everybody you're gonna reach, and that's life, and that's us as human beings. But still do it, because again, you never know, and sometimes they will not tell you that you've reached them, but then years later you may hear from them and they said, you know, that because you had said XYZ, they were listening. So still push ahead and still make it seem as if, hey, guess what? I am not doing it for them in terms of, well, I'm not doing it for me and how I feel. I am doing it for them to ensure that their lives are enriched because they have met me. You understand what I mean?
Right. I love that. I love that analogy too, because sometimes we don't, or we hesitate to start doing these projects because we think, maybe it's not as valuable as I think it is in my head.
Or nobody,
How do
or nobody will pay attention.
Right.
You know, and don't and I say this, half of what I do I don't speak about. I don't. Only the individuals who know. So when I have one-on-one projects, I don't talk about it at all. So, you know, whether I'm sending somebody to school, whether I'm helping them with whatever, that part of things I don't speak about. It is more like the associations, you know, involved in different community projects with an association. I try not to speak about my own one-on-one thing, because I still have to maintain and pay attention to the integrity of the individual that I am helping as well.
Right.
What if that individual don't want anybody to know that they can't read? What if that individual don't want anybody to know that somebody's sending them to school? What if that individual don't want anybody to know that I am helping them with groceries on a monthly? You understand what I mean? So those things, you have to make sure that you maintain the integrity of the individual. Yes, it is all well and good when you see pictures, and that's why I try not to do pictures with people in there. I do pictures with the objects that I'm describing. Right. Because at the same time, understand where they are coming from as well. Because you want to make sure that at the end of the day, they do not feel, oh, see there, it was just a publicity stunt. Or, yeah, so you have to, there's a fine line.
Like your giving was genuine.
Exactly. You know.
All right, so I think my last question, unless other persons have questions in the comments, how do you speak to that fear that doubts you before you get started? How do you overcome that first self-talk that gives you the negatives, all of the negatives before you get started?
All right. It's so funny that you asked that question, because I'm going to share a story, and come here, if he's listening, would know this, as well as Rochelle, my mentee from Mines. I've always wanted to write my book, and I've always talked about writing it. But then there's the first thing as a human being that we encounter when we decide that we want to do something positive is a negative. We talk about, you know, so you have that thing coming to you. Nobody do it, nobody now go read it. Nobody, too long for write. No, so you don't have the time. So everything for you to not do something positive will always come at you at first. Try to get to that place where you see your voice becomes louder than what is speaking to you. Get to that place where, and it's so hard, and I'm gonna kind of segue into something else, if you don't mind.
Don't mind.
When one, and I'm now speaking from experience, when I tell persons that I grew up with extremely low self-esteem, present day they can't believe. And I can understand why they can't believe, because they're seeing a product or an individual now that is shaped out of many experiences before. What I find is that when you have negative people around you for an extended period of time, you start to believe exactly what they're saying about you. You start listening. And then that becomes a part of your narrative in terms of how you speak to yourself. So you're not good for nothing. Okay, we're not good for nothing. So we're never trying nothing good. And because of that, all of the time now, everything that you want to do that is so positive, that negative voice just start coming up again. Remember, you're no good. Remember, there is, you will never amount to anything. Remember, so everything is just that is a reminder to you. And I'm talking about reminders now that are coming from your child. So there are certain things that you as an adult would want to do, but the fear has crippled you so much. But then when you dig deep and dig under where that fear is coming from, it's years of you listening to you not being good, or you
right.
you're no good. So you have to get to that place where, and it's as I said, it's hard, but you have to get to the place where you say, you know what, I love me. So you have to accept you, and then from there you just move forward where that is concerned. If not, you will forever, ever, ever think and have the brightest of ideas in your mind, but it will never ever manifest. So you may be sitting on the cure for cancer, but because of what you've heard so many years ago, oh, you will never, you're worthless like your father, whatever it is, you're dunce like whatever, you will never ever reach that place where you will ever go into a classroom and sit down and get to that place where you can give of yourself and what it is that you were destined to do. So we have to
Love
be
that.
very, very, very careful where that is concerned. So my self-talk these days is, I can do it. I can do it. You understand what I mean? And I remember Camera at the start of COVID, it was like, okay, you have no excuse now. Because the hotel was shut down for a while. So it's like, you have no excuse now. It's time to write. So get
That's
your
right.
paper. So that's exactly what I did. And I'm happy that the process is over. It was hard. I think a part of me never wanted to write because of revisiting certain episodes would have caused pain. Also, I had to write in the frame of wisdom because a lot of what transpired in the past, yes, I've gotten past it, and the individuals in, we have gotten past that stage. So I did not want to frame them as persons who are monsters after we would have gotten past all of these things before. So you have to talk to yourself. You have to get to that point where you can say, you know what, I'm going to move forward. If I fail, I fail.
Do it anyway.
I just have to move forward. So anybody out there listening who you have something inside you, you've always wanted to do, but you've always heard, no matter with that, no matter try that. It's there's a chapter in the upcoming book, be careful of the dream killers, and
Woo.
there are many. You understand what I mean? But then you must have at least one individual in your corner to say, you know what, try and see what happens. And if you listen to a lot of these success stories, it is born out of stuff like that. They have tried and tried and tried and tried until they get to that place that they are comfortable, or that place where they can birth whatever it is that is inside of them.
I love that. And most persons always think, oh, I don't have the resources, I don't have the skills, I don't have, but we do. And we don't necessarily need to go to school every day for these passion projects that we're starting. And
Listen to
2020 has been the year for it.
listen to me. I've always said that we were created with what is called that survival skill.
Right.
You don't know what that survival skill is? Let me tell you what a survival skill is. That survival skill is that thing that every single week or every month or every Christmas, your family say, you can't do that for me. That means it is something that you're very good at.
Right.
You understand what I mean? So they always say they want the cake. That means you're baking the cake properly. You're baking that cake well. Start charge. You understand what I mean? But if you're not,
Right.
so we all were created with that survival skill that is just for us to put our finger on it and be around. Again, it is so important. Be around people that help you to shine, help you to unearth these things that are inside of you that is just waiting to come out. And because some of us are in such toxic environment, and we have to be constantly battling not only ourselves but everybody else around us, it kills everything. Or every time something great is trying to stand up, we push it back down, because of course we have to be fighting so many battles. You understand?
Right.
So we have to put ourselves in a situation or in a space where we can thrive, And that means if you have to change certain friends, you change certain friends. Simple. You understand what I mean? You have to get to the point where it's either you or me. If that's the case, you understand? And I'm going to choose me, because the better version of me would mean that it's going to be a better version of the person that comes in contact with me as well.
Absolutely. And I love that 2020 has given us some quiet time to just probably excuse ourselves from some of the persons who have been giving us this negative self-talk
Absolutely.
or influencing the negative self-talk, and probably just building our creativity to show us what we're good at so that we can create our own segue into whatever our passion is supposed to be.
Listen to me. Nobody. If somebody would tell me at the start of this this year that I would be doing a talk show type of thing on my on my Facebook live, I'll tell them shut up. And I cannot believe that. I mean, some of the guests that I've had on, like Delia Harris and Janet Silvera and all of these people, but like, and they're like, okay, you've been doing this for a long time. I'm like, no, but it is out of these moments that we see certain things that we were just too busy to see. We were just too busy to recognize certain things about us because we were just going, 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 going. And until sometime we just pause a little bit. And COVID had given us that opportunity to pause. I mean, there is the negative side of it, with the social issues, etc. But at the same time, too, it gives us that opportunity to do a lot of self-searching to say, okay,
Right.
what else is there inside that I may need to develop on? And it's there, you know.
All right, so I'm not seeing any questions. If you have any questions for Conroy, you can just go ahead and comment them now. While you're doing that, Conroy, are there anything that you want us to send persons to go ahead and follow you? I know you do your live. I know you do so many things. How can we serve? How can we give back? How can we participate?
All right, so I took up a break from the CDT conversations, and that's on that CDT conversations with an S. That's a Facebook page. That's where I do the lives. All the videos so far are still on that page, so persons can access that page. It's a platform that was created just to answer questions for persons. So whether it's in tourism, whether it's about the law, I had a lawyer on, and I have a part two with him coming up in a few weeks. I have persons talking about volunteer work. I have parents talking about handling COVID stress with their
Wow.
children, things like those. So it was born out of the need for conversations. I have had persons talking about the PNP presidential race, things like those
Wow.
that were very topical, and is very topical, to kind of open up an awareness and an understanding that the common man um, wouldn't understand if they would listen to like a minister of finance, for argument's sake. So I take topics and then I break them down to very, very simple conversations so that persons can learn from them. So that is on CDT Conversations, and that's on Facebook. So the lives, I have one interview coming up with a young lady that I met years ago. And it's so funny that I shared a story once about my almost um, plunge into a life of um, worthlessness because of following company. And she responded to me. She messaged me in my inbox, and she was saying, "Thank you for sharing that story with me with us, because a lot of persons see certain things that they don't understand." And she was talking about her journey at the University of the West Indies. She went in on a full scholarship. She, dropped out, got pregnant, and all of these things. And back in school, and now she's graduating, with a totally different degree than what she had gone in for. Because while she is naturally smart, she was not passionate about that one. But now
Right.
she's, it's like a detour into something else. I say all that to say this. Sometimes we are on a path that we think is what we want, or it's on a path that everybody else wants for us, but we do not want for ourselves. Or it's a path that mommy and daddy says, I need you to become a
That's
doctor,
what you need to
so
do.
please become a doctor. But until you get to that place where you wake up with a spring in your step, then you would be wasting your time. Because I know doctors right now, well, yeah, doctors right now who are miserable in their profession because that's not what they want to do. And what it
Right.
is that they want to do, they fear doing it because, oh, my mother and father or my sister may send me work list because I want to do music instead. So, yet we have to get to the place where you live and not just float through life as mere existence. We have to live. And until we get to that place where we feed that soul, we will just be just floating, along life's path.
Wow, I love how you just tied that back to feeding your soul that we started with.
Yeah.
Absolutely necessary. Again, I want to shout out our sponsor for today's live, Trolley Craze. They provide the convenience of pulling your items instead of lifting.
Yeah.
So if you go to the supermarket, the bag's too heavy, Trolley
Trolley
Craze got you.
Craze.
So go ahead and follow them, and they'll be able to help you place your order and everything. Conroy, thank you so much for this awesome conversation. I knew it was going to be great.
Thank you.
For the persons who want to connect with Conroy, you can also connect with him on the Minds Off, which we also upgraded our platform to make everyone able to access it. The opportunities there. It's now free for our students. So go ahead, guys. Go ahead and take advantage of this awesome opportunity. Thank you so much, Conroy.
I want to talk about Minds a little bit as well because um, this platform is just so, and when I say platform, not the physical platform, I'm talking about what is happening with it. It is such a fantastic, thing. I mean, it allows, I've always said it, if I had mentors in the past like that at an early age in high school or whatever, maybe, things I would have been further along. However,
Right.
I also have to remember, as in my own journey, that while I wanted things to be different, I think that all of my experiences have shaped me now to be able to be a little bit more impactful had I not gone through some of the stuff. So I have to keep, the balance where that is concerned. But the platform Minds of Jamaica, it is such a super group of, I call it the mega team of,
Absolutely.
of whole like-minded individuals who want to reach back, grab a hand, and pull forward. That
Right.
type of thing to take that student or that person maybe struggling with decisions where career is concerned. And it's not only students. I'm talking about adults as well who may just be sitting there and saying, you know what, oh, I don't know what to do this. I can't do this anymore. What should I do? Whatever. Reach out. And that's what we're here for. We try. But our students in particular, I'm very proud of all of them. It's I mean, shout out to my mentee. She is just amazing. She have exams this week, but I know that she'll just kill it. Shout out Rochelle. you know.
absolutely gonna kill it.
I know all of them. I mean, it allows for us though as the professionals to help them and point them to the right resources, to connect them with that resources that will get them to that place of a better place, and for us too to learn from them, because
Right.
I've learned so much from my mentee, you know, especially on the journey of writing a book, because she's an author and she was there with me every single step of the way. And I can't wait to do the big reveal where that is concerned.
I
Um,
love that.
you know, it's just amazing how this platform, though, um, Minds of Jamaica, really help us to make a mark. And at the end of the day, we are just passing by. All of us. None of us, we are not here indefinitely. But when they look at the life of an individual, it should speak to something. And the legacy that we leave must live on in somebody else. It
Right.
can't just be on paper. It lives on in someone else. And let it be said that, oh, you know that because of Shanae, I decided to go back to school. And then out of that one little decision, that life is so transformed that it is also now bearing fruit for other people. Because that person go back to school, they can now provide better for their family. They can now afford an education for their child. You understand? So it's like a ripple effect. So we have to look on our life and how we live it in a way that we can say, you know what, I am going to reach for that hand, but really and truly, I'm going to touch the heart of that individual.
Wow. I wish I could write that down just now. Guys, gems, gems, gems. But thank you. That's definitely true. And the impact. I just love the impact that it's having so far. And I just look forward to the growth that we'll have.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, we are on the cusp of
On
something
the
big.
way there.
Because when I saw the launch of the platform, I'm like, whoa. You know? So persons, go ahead. You know, if you have not signed up yet, or if you have not visited yet, just go ahead and explore, and see what Minds of Jamaica is all about. And you never know. You know, I may just be talking to a future mind as well.
Right?
You know?
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Looking forward to them signing up as well.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Conroy. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate you taking the time out for us.
Yes, I'm gonna just jump right back now to my final exam, and then another meeting at 7:30. But that's how it is.
All right. Good luck on your exams.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I need it.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. Take care. Thank you guys for watching.